Good evening, and welcome to the Norfolk Board of Selectmen's meeting of it's Wednesday, September 4th. My name is Jim Lehan. I'm joined by my associates, Anita Mecklenburg and Kevin Roach. Justin is with us this evening as well. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. We are going to go into an executive session immediately. It will be, I think, reasonably brief. I don't think it will be much more than 15 or 20 minutes at the most. We'll come back into public session and continue with the agenda. Do I have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of, or Anita, you want to read that motion?
Sure. I move that the board vote to convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, 53 Miller Road and 111 Dedham Street.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second, sir?
Second.
Okay, I need a roll call vote. Anita?
Anita Mecklenburg, aye.
Jim Lehan, aye.
Kevin Roach, aye.
Thank you. We are now going to go into executive session.
Do I have to do the other motion later?
For minutes.
For the second item?
For minutes.
We could have done that all in one motion.
Okay. I move that the board vote to convene an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20A7, to approve executive session minutes. Anita Mecklenburg, it has to be second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote again.
Anita Mecklenburg, aye.
Jim Lehan, aye.
Kevin Roach, aye.
We will not go into two separate sessions. We will... Ready? Okay, welcome back. We have left executive session. We're now in open session. This is an opportunity for any public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening? Mr. Oliveri.
How you doing? You get done quicker than I expected. So I just wanted to talk about some general comments and then get into a few specifics. The general comments I have are about communication and transparency. It seems to me it's very difficult sometimes getting answers about some kinds of topics, such as the respite shelter.
What was that? I didn't hear
The
you.
respite shelter.
Okay.
At the last SB meeting, I was kind of disappointed that it lasted about 13 minutes, and there were only 3 or 4 questions from the board, and most of them focused on what happens to the people after they've been there 5 days, where do they go, and what are their choices when they leave. And I think there was maybe 1 or 2 more questions. And I was frustrated because I had about 20 questions I wanted to ask. So in general, I know you don't take questions anymore. I'd like you to reconsider the fact that a lot of people would like to have a time slot of maybe 10 minutes where they could ask and get questions answered. Now, if you're not hot on that idea, another possibility is to submit the questions to Justin, and at the next select board meeting, not just if I give them to Justin, he answers me, but at the next select board meeting, you read out the questions and what the answers are, so the whole town can understand what the question was and what the answers were. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm thinking about. And part of the frustration I had was I had some questions I wanted to ask the folks that were here from heading home in the state. In particular, I asked them, that was great, you gave us a number of 63 families were here. And I understand it was only 3 weeks back then that we were into this new phase. I said, can you tell me, out of the 63 families, how many people were there? They go, no, I can't tell you that. Not that I don't know, I can't tell you that, I won't tell you that. And I said, okay, what about the 5-day folks that are there? Have any of them been given extensions, and if so, how many? And how long was the extensions? I can't tell you that. Now, where do we go to get the answers? I don't think we should have to file a FOIA request every time we want some answers. And I say this because this is supposed to be a two-way street. As you said, Jim, it's not supposed to be an adversarial proceeding. I don't think they were shy in asking us, certain members of the town, for a barbecue and some support there, which they did, and that's fine. But it's got to be a two-way street. We help them, they should help us. I don't know if it's because we don't want to ask them hard questions, and I don't know what you talk about in this weekly meeting with them, but maybe you could ask questions that are inputted from the town and then get back to us, like I mentioned, with Justin reporting back what the answers were. Because I think it's very difficult to justify sometimes supporting this relationship we have if it's only one-sided. And I think a lot of people want to support this, but they really want some answers. And like I said, I had about 20 questions I could have asked them and tried to get some answers out of them. I don't know if it's because we don't want to ask them hard questions, or maybe they don't want to, or maybe you do during that weekly meeting you have with them, but it doesn't trickle down to us. Or they just don't want us to know the answers because they're afraid the answers won't look good. And I think transparency is important in that case. So I would suggest, I guess my recommendation is to think about having, like I said, maybe a 10-minute block of people to ask questions, or submitting them to Justin and you guys answer them, and then he reports out what the answers are. So
All set?
I'm all set.
Okay. Don't go away.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the board their opinion. I think that while we will not comment at this point in time because of the protocol of the process, Jack, we do have open discussion opportunities in our meeting, as we always do amongst ourselves. And I couldn't agree more about transparency. I couldn't agree more that we have to. I will tell you that it is at times difficult to get specific answers that you're looking for. And this board, I think we all are in agreement that we're not into the speculation part. We've tried to be very careful not to share information that we think is right. And it has happened to us where we've been told to go left and next week we find out they went right. And it's been that way a lot. So it's hard to be as specific as you would like to be. We do have more information than was shared that evening, and we do have very hard conversations with them on a weekly basis. We have 2 this week, Thursday and Friday. So I think I would have no issue if the board feels comfortable in taking questions submitted to Justin, and we'll do our best to give you the best answers we can. Is everyone comfortable with that process?
Yes, I think that it would be excellent for people to have an opportunity to ask their questions. I would just like to structure it so that we can summarize the questions and share the answers out so that we're not identifying people by name or doing question by question by question, but kind of and making sure we answer all the questions, but we can summarize them.
Kevin?
Yes.
We're all for it.
Great. I appreciate it.
No, not at all.
I think it'll go a long way.
We're not holding things back.
No, I
It's just
understand.
that it's hard sometimes to give you what you want, even though we have an answer, if we don't have confidence that that answer holds water.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate also the answer may be wrong. But when somebody says, I'm not telling you that, not because I don't know it, or not because I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
let me just defend them for a second. This is not their job to come before communities and Norfolk Board of Selectmen or anyone. They are a hired firm to run. They're not the state. These were not state people.
Well, one person was. She's the
Well, one
Assistant
was.
Secretary of
One was.
Education.
But they came representing the firm. And we assured them that they wouldn't put in a position of having the public question or challenge them or whatever. And we knew it was going to be high level. We knew it wasn't going to be the level of detail you wanted. We knew that. They came out of almost a personal request of this board to do that. And we knew it wouldn't give you what you wanted, but it was a show of good faith in the fact that that we're doing our best to work together and their willingness to come here. But we assured them that they would not be put in a position of answering questions like that.
Well,
So
they
that-
don't have to answer them to me or the community, but I'd like them to be able to be transparent with you
Good, well,
and the
so
board.
would we.
Okay? And if they say, this is the state we're talking to, right? And they don't want to tell us anything. And you're probably aware that we just got a big FOIA request satisfied with the costs associated with this. I don't know if you saw the numbers.
I've seen the numbers.
$18 million a year. That's for one respite site. There's 5 of them. That's $100 million, and that doesn't include anything but the support of the respite site.
And you're scratching the surface.
Right, right. So I think it's not only Norfolk taxpayers' money, it's our money because we fund the state. So we have a right to know some of these questions, and the state wouldn't tell us, and they fought us on getting us that information, and we had to appeal it to the Secretary of State.
Yep.
I say we, not me, but somebody else. And they overruled us and said, we have the right to know that information. I mean, that's how we got it.
I know.
We shouldn't have to do a FOIA request for this kind of stuff. We can, but it just seems like it's too frustrating, it's too long, it's too time-consuming, it's too complicated. Let's just talk.
I applaud the efforts to get the details behind the scenes, if you will, who's running the curtain, who is that guy behind the curtain. I applaud all that. But for our purposes and what we're dealing with and the challenge that is in front of us, that's not an agenda item for us. It's good to know. We may have very strong personal opinions about it, Jack.
Yeah.
Because you're getting into policy now, and you may have, we all have very strong opinions about for or against what's going on.
Well, it's not just that. It helps us prepare for the future. If we know what's
I
going
agree.
on, if we don't know what's going on now, how can we prepare?
I agree, but it doesn't solve anything we're confronted with on a day-to-day basis on the operations of that site.
Okay.
And we have to make that distinction. So, yeah, I was aware of the numbers, and I have other numbers that I'm aware of as well.
Shocking.
But, it's a lot of money. But I can't do anything about that right now. And whether it's $2 or $10 has no impact on what we have to, this board has to deal with, and the schools have to deal with there. And it is a moving target.
I get that. Well, I appreciate you listening. That was my...
I think this board is very open to anything that creates more transparency. We just have to walk the line between what we actually know and not get into the element, we don't want to be on Facebook, with speculation that may or may not be true.
I know.
We have to walk that line.
I get that. No, that's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
always good to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you, Jack.
Very fair question. You guys are okay with that? Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. Justin.
All right. In the board's packet, you have an application from Paul Khalil for the Conservation Commission. He met with the chairman of the Conservation Committee. I just want to point out for the board, this wasn't a committee or a commission recommendation. It's the application and the chairman's recommendation, which is sort of atypical for what we usually have. And the gentleman couldn't be here. He's out on vacation a bit, so that's the information you have for your consideration for that appointment there.
Well, it's the pleasure of the committee.
Is that the only open seat in conservation?
Good question. My gut says yes, but let me see if I can just verify
I
this.
don't know.
It's a very good question.
While he's looking, I want to thank the board for the willingness to have a little outside discussion on that. I think it was appropriate. And
There's one opening.
I just want to make sure, do you double check it too?
Yeah.
Perfect, yeah. That's what I was double checking, yeah, one.
Okay.
Thank you.
what is your pleasure?
I think that if the chair is recommending that nomination, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it also.
Okay.
I move that we appoint Paul Khalil to the Conservation Committee for a term ending June 30, 2027.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The next item on the board's agenda is consideration of approval for intermunicipal agreement with Mansfield for medical director services. This is something that the town has been doing for, several years. However, we did want to get an actual municipal agreement with Mansfield for these services. I think I would just say to the board, if you were to approve this agreement, I would ask for you guys to do a motion authorizing me to sign with any suggested edits, because this is sort of a new agreement that came before the town, and I think there's just some things that we want to clarify within it. But like I said, these are services that we've been doing for several years. I think we have payments from 2016, but we want to have an intermunicipal agreement with Mansfield for these services.
I read through this. My mind may be a little clouded. I'm not quite sure what you wanted us to do in relationship to your role. What was that?
Well, so I want to be able to, you would authorize me to sign the agreement, but also with any edits for the intermunicipal agreement.
So authorize you to make whatever changes you feel is appropriate and to sign on our behalf.
Yeah, I think there's some clarification things that we should probably do in this intermunicipal
Yes.
agreement.
Yeah, in reading it, I felt like it was a little soft. It seems like I'm all in favor of the arrangement. I think it's a good partnership with another community, but I felt like it was difficult to measure in terms of some of the action items, so I would encourage editing. And I trust you to edit this $10,000 contract.
Kevin?
Yes, I'm all in favor of any edits other than the price.
Yeah, I won't edit
Yeah.
price. Agreed. Agreed. Unless you could get it lower, but it's not getting any lower.
That's fair.
Spoken like a true businessman.
All right,
The
so
agreement? All right, do I have a motion?
I'll be sure to include that. So
I'm fine
let's say,
with this.
I move that we approve the intermunicipal agreement with Mansfield for medical director services and authorize the town administrator to make edits and to sign the agreement with the exception of the total cost being no greater than $10,000.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done. Okay,
The next
we are
one's
down
yours.
to you, my friend.
Are you skipping over number 4? No, that's you.
Town administrator review.
I will not skip over that. For those at home, we are required every year to do an annual review of the town administrator. Each selectman submits their own report in terms of how they view the town administrator. We grade it on a scale of 1 to 5, and it's based, I'm going to just read some of the qualifications that we measure. We measure individual characteristics such as whether they're self-starters, good judgment, willingness to adapt, things of that nature. We measure professional skills and status, which is the knowledge of the law, his work with the staff, development of staff. We measure relationships with members of the elected body, how he works with other departments, how he works with the Board of Selectmen and other boards in town. And we measure policy execution, which is basically following through in the direction of the board and making sure that those things are completed. We also measure reporting, which is basically what you see during our selectmen's meeting, both in terms of finance and budget and things of that nature. We also measure citizen relationships, which is his ability to work on a nonpartisan basis with both the news and the community. We measure staffing regarding to his ability to manage the staff, develop the staff, work with the staff. That also falls into supervision in terms of his direct reports, which would be all the department heads. And we measure, most importantly, or I shouldn't say most importantly, but equally importantly, fiscal management. We are a business, and managing within our resources is a critical component of that. The final score of that on a scale of 1 to 5 came out to 4.51, which is an outstanding score. There were some development opportunities quoted by the members of this board. There will always be development opportunities in this particular job, most notably in the constant challenge of developing staff, continuing to work with them and helping them to improve in their performances and their opportunities, self-improvement, continuing to grow within himself, which is an opportunity that will never end for any town administrator, but it's important that you continue to develop that. One other comment's related to the continuing aspect of knowledge regarding changes in law and policies and considerations associated with the state, which is an ongoing factor. It is a job that you never stop learning. So a lot of the comments were related to that. Overall, it was a very good performance. I think the board has been extremely pleased with your performance to date, as reflected by your final score, and we thank you for the job that you're doing. I would open it to comments from the board.
I'm just so pleased to have you working with the town of Norfolk. I feel very confident that we made a good decision in hiring you and look forward to continuing to work together.
I didn't have anything with the evaluation, because I'm so new and haven't really had that much experience working with you, so I abstained from writing a review.
This will be an odd compliment, but I want to pay Kevin a compliment, because a lot of people new on the board would jump in and make comments or reflect on personal views or hearsay or things like that, and Kevin did not do that. And so what feelings and what remarks he has contributed to this were based on knowledge and not rumor and fact, so it was very limited, because he's only been on the board for 2 or 3, and that I thank you for, because that's not easy to do. So I appreciate the fact that you stayed sound to your word and did that, so.
And to jump into that conversation, I think it is a good reminder that we should adjust the schedule for the review so that it happens before the next
Right.
election,
Agreed.
not after the next election.
Yeah.
So we should reconsider the timing of how we do that.
In fact, I would like to formalize that. We did this at King Philip as well, where we changed the review to April, so that, because we change it, there are earlier elections on the King Philip board than there are here, which is just May, but there are April elections in the other towns. So I would think that's an excellent suggestion, that we complete this appraisal next April. And I'd like to formalize that if the board is willing to make a motion.
Yes, I move that we set the annual review cycle for the town administrator as culminating in April of each year.
I'll second.
And I couldn't agree more. So we'll formalize that with a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's a fair and more equitable way to do it to you, so that, we have the members on the board. Kevin Calcutt was not able to contribute to this evaluation, whereas he should have, because he had spent several years with you, and that was not the correct way to do it, and puts a new person in a very awkward position. And we experienced that with King Philip as well. It's hard. So, well done.
Thank you. I just want to say I thank the board for their feedback. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, so thank you.
Excellent.
I would add that I asked, and I think I think it's probably been done traditionally anyway, but I asked Justin to do a performance review on himself, and he was much harder on himself, which is a good trait to see. So you were tough on yourself, but I understand.
Okay.
Okay. All right, now I will turn it over to you, sir.
Yes. So just a couple of quick updates. In the board's packet, you have a preliminary list of articles for the warrant. Obviously, you guys know the warrant closes, the submission date for the warrant is this Friday. So if you take a look there, you'll see we don't have many articles at the moment. Quite a bit of them are boilerplate articles. There's a few with question marks, and I actually think this will probably be trimmed down just a little bit. Particularly if you look at number 15, I spoke with Anne Maria. I don't think we're ready for that. But pretty much on here are sort of typical finance-related articles from 1 to 5. You've heard from planning some of the articles there, and then we have street acceptances. The one article you haven't heard about just yet is from assessing, from the Board of Assessors. They'd like to change a bylaw provision that requires that in the town report that we print property valuation of estates and all taxes abated during the year. It's sort of an old provision from 1975. They provide all the information online every year. So they submitted an article to remove that from the town report. So that is the only article that received. CPC doesn't have any articles for town meeting, fall town meeting. So it's pretty late at the moment, but it closes Friday. The plan would be to obviously compile that pretty quickly, and on the 17th meeting, the board could execute that warrant. I'll have an update. One question mark is schematic design for Freeman Kennedy. Is there any questions first, and then I can talk about that a little bit.
Well, they haven't brought anything forward to us at this point in
I
time.
want to
So,
give a quick update.
I don't want to debate something that isn't in front of us, personally. Anita?
No questions.
So in terms of the school building committee, they're meeting this evening. So after this meeting, I will go to that meeting. And so I spoke with the superintendent this morning. The committee is going to meet. They're potentially consider a recommendation for the school committee and select board, or potentially a delay on that. I don't know what the committee is going to do regarding that. So after that meeting, I will let the board know what the committee decides to do. And then we talked, I know I mentioned the last select board meeting, there was a desire to have a joint select board and school committee meeting. I think we have a couple of dates proposed, but we don't know essentially what the building committee might recommend or the school committee might recommend. So we have two proposed dates of September 17th possibly, or the October 1st, first October meeting for the board. So nothing finalized there. I think I'll have more information for you after tonight's meeting.
Have you had, I know you and I have talked, have you had the opportunity to talk with Anita and Kevin specifically about this as well?
High level. I would like to have this meeting tonight and then talk with all the board members.
If you could share individually with each of us the results of that,
Yes.
and then maybe you, at that point, each of you can give Justin some feedback as to what I'm trying to avoid is an uncomfortable conversation without them having prior knowledge how each of us may view considerations on this, without knowing what those considerations may or may not be. But there are clearly directional and timing of these issues. And I think it would be helpful for them to know that in advance. So if you would poll each of us in that regard after you have some guidance,
Yep.
I think that would be helpful for them to know. And they're welcome to come whatever date they feel appropriate. I mean, they're always welcome.
Will do. Ready?
But I think the difference between September and October would depend on what you heard this evening.
I agree. Yes.
Safe to say.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm moving beyond the warrant. In the board's packet, I spoke with the chair. We talked about talking about Old Town Hall as a sort of an update. So I was able to include in the board's packet, you have an old memo from the previous town administrator. This was the last time Old Town Hall was brought up before. It was August in 2021. So in your packet, you have that memo in the minutes there. Also gave you a memo of my own. So to summarize briefly, the last time this was considered, there was a proposal to do some hazard survey as well as try to see what the cost of demolition would be for Old Town Hall. I would say none of that work occurred after that 2021 meeting. So I did speak with town staff. There still are sort of similar potential uses. I think there's work still to be done there. And so I guess high level, my recommendation might be to the board, and it is in my memo, that an article to demolish Old Town Hall at the fall town meeting might not be ready just yet, because I think there is some work still to be done that we could do. I will, some of our staff are out on vacation, but I plan to meet with planning as well as our building commissioner to see what the cost of demolition would be, see the cost for the hazard survey, and try to give that information to the board at the next select board meeting. That way you can see what those costs might be and have that information. But you might, we're looking at town center sewer. Demolition, if that was a force main potentially, that would be, you could cover that in that project. Or, some other people have mentioned some other potential uses. I think my recommendation to the board be, we need to do some work. Let's revisit some of the items that were highlighted in that 2021 memo, and we can give it to you, and then maybe you can give us direction on how you feel about proceeding. So you guys, it's ballpark now.
Decisions should be made with the best information we can possibly get. So I'm not against it. What I have wanted, and you are now doing, is getting it back on the radar. That's, and if we need to do more work, I think we need to have the best information possible to make a good decision, so I'm fine with that. As long as it stays on the radar screen.
So we don't indefinitely kick the can, because we've kicked the can before.
We've kicked it too long. So if we get good data and we make a decision in May, that's fine. November may be too premature. Again, my goal was just to pull it up from the grave and let's stop driving by it and figure out what we want to do. So I'm fine with that. I'm sorry, Anita.
No, I had two questions from the material. One, it says that the fire department was storing some equipment there. Is that going to be necessary once the new building is built?
No.
I hope not.
And then, that's what I was hoping to, but I just had to ask. And then the other question is, I was just curious, how many folks do park there for the commuter rail?
So because that was an active construction site with the fire station, we do not allow parking on that site right now. And also, before COVID, it was booked all the time. It was a popular spot. So the past 2 years, there haven't been any parking there. We've limited parking there. We've limited this year again. So next year, it'll be a discussion item for next year, but no one's
Okay.
parking at the site now.
Okay, cool.
Now, was it any cheaper to park there than at the railroad station?
Yes, quite a bit.
Oh.
We used to.
Yes.
I know from experience, because my husband commuted in, and it was like $75 for the whole year.
It was
You could
much cheaper.
Park there for the whole year for $75, and
The-
so that was, we always entered the lottery,
The
because that
demand was very high. There was a lottery. Yeah.
That was before when a lot of people were going into the office.
Before COVID.
Right, so-
Since COVID, it's adjusted.
But it is picking up.
It's starting to pick up.
If
They
you look at
still
the
have
park-
32 spaces along Liberty Lane
Yeah.
Right.
that are through the town.
Yep.
Now,
We-
are
we've
they
been-
all taken? Okay,
Well, the lottery's going on right now
yeah,
for this.
The
coming-
previous year it was.
okay.
And Judith was already in our
The
staff.
MBTA
handles
parking
that.
lot is much fuller now than it was 3 months ago.
Yeah. There's been more.
There's an increase in activity. Yeah. Maybe people are getting tired of talking to each other over a computer. Okay.
My
Anything else,
direction
Justin?
on the board is that there will not be an Old Town Hall article on this.
As long as you keep it on the radar
The
screen.
investigation will be ongoing.
We will.
Okay.
So I follow up with that. Gave you update about the school building committee. That's all that I have for this evening.
Anita?
I just wanted to mention two things. First of all, I wanted to thank the SAFE Coalition for their work with the purple flags on the hill and having that opportunity for families to connect, and it's a very impossible thing. I can't imagine that kind of loss, and so I think it's a really valuable service for those families, and I think it's an excellent reminder for all of us of the importance of battling the opioid addiction. So I wanted to thank them. And then the other is kind of random, Anita random. I read a study that if you are in a hospital room and you can see trees from your window in the hospital room, that you actually heal faster. So I think we have a connection to nature that we don't really fully understand, the way that we are connected to nature. And since Kevin and I did that dedication at the Fales Memorial Park, and we discovered this most beautiful park right here in Norfolk, my husband and I have been going on walks. We walked on the Lind property, and we have so many beautiful resources in Norfolk and around. And so I would encourage people to go outside. This fall has just been gorgeous, and to go outside and be with the trees. And I think it's good for our well-being in a way that we really can't put our finger on, but that it's important and real. So just want to encourage people to take a walk. And that's it.
Sure.
Nothing to add at this time.
I would completely agree with you. I would love to see, I know it's been a topic of conversation, and we've made some progress, but so many people don't know what is available in this community and the areas that are really gorgeous to walk. And somehow I'd love to see a map that could be handed, that would be part of every package that goes out to every.
Well, it'd be nice to be able, if we could come up with something and put it on the town website.
Yes.
The locations of
Anywhere.
them.
And with pictures, and tell people what, why they're named the way they are and what they are. I mean, there's gorgeous pieces of property here.
Yes.
There's one down by the end, right on the Franklin line, right down by that factory
That
that
we
we've
walk-
owned for years that no one even knows is there. And I've walked it. It's beautiful all around that little pond. It's
Yes, the
absolutely
one, and it
gorgeous.
even has handicap accessible
Yep.
boating. It's
Yep.
beautiful. We just walked that one. Very beautiful.
So I would love to see some
Yeah.
promotion for the opportunities. I mean, these are your taxpayer dollars that have purchased these, or CPC
Absolutely.
dollars, which are taxpayer dollars. Yeah.
I think all the town-owned property should be accessible, and let the people know where it is so they can enjoy it as well. Like you said,
Absolutely.
everyone paid for it.
Yes.
The Weber property over in back of Jane and Paul's farm, we purchased that 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, in a rather contentious situation, because it was a 61A purchase that we agreed to buy, because the developer wanted to use it for drainage, which would have drowned out all the people down in that Winston Churchill area. Beautiful land, and there is access, two different points
Yes.
of access, and nobody knows about it.
Well, I've been walking.
I couldn't agree more.
So wave if you see me, but my husband and I have been walking around, and
So you're going to be the
Exploring-
spokesman for all of the new spots.
we're exploring the town.
All right. I'm just going to add a little bit of an edit to Mr. Oliveri's comments, which I think were very appropriate. We do meet with the state every single week. And it's kind of like, every time you think it's safe to go out and play, you find out you can't go outside and play. It is a very delicate process that we're working with. And I can't go into a lot of detail on it. We have 2 calls this week, but it has been very challenging. And yes, we do ask very hard questions. Yes, we do get into very, very specific detail. And while we may not share all of that, some of it we can't share. Some of it we could, but we don't share it unless we're sure it's right. And right now, we're in a very moving target. I think that's about the best way to describe it. You know, there's a new strategy that came into place August 1st. All parties are learning how to execute that strategy. I would just say that we're in a very fluid state right now. And when we get more information that we feel we can correctly convey, believe me, we will do it. But I just, you know, there's a lot more going on that may not be visible to people. This is a very difficult process we're in. I mean, my 18 years, I've never been in a more trying or difficult position in trying to work through these considerations because no one has a rule book here. There is no rule book, there is no playbook. The state doesn't even have a rule book or playbook. And so they're learning. And so you've got parties that are fluid in everything that they're doing, and it's hard to get to nail down where we are with this. But we are working diligently. This board is working. Justin shares all of the information, and our direction is a collected decision. And so just because you don't see us, you know, screaming and yelling in the corner doesn't mean that there aren't some moments that we do some screaming and yelling, because there have been. So, and I'll repeat again, we have to stay out of the political considerations. That just messes up the issue. I applaud the efforts that the community makes to get that information. That is their right. I'm all for it. I support it. But it doesn't impact what we have to do because it plays no role. It doesn't matter to us in terms of the implementation that's going on down here at the prison. It just has no impact to it. We have to focus on that challenge and only that challenge and what we can do about it. So, sorry, but it's been one of those days. So, that's it for me.
Well, we have warrants.
We have some warrants to take care of.
I move that we approve the warrants as listed in the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any further comments?
We have minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have minutes.
Do you want me to do it?
Have you had a chance to take a look at them, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll get you to make the motion as you are the clerk.
Is it just one set here?
Yes.
Let's see. One here. I make a motion, we approve the minutes of August 20th, 24.
I have a second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Justin, anything else, sir?
I have nothing else.
Good luck tonight.
Thank you.
We'll let you get to it. Start at 7 or 7:30?
Start 7.
You're late.
I am.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
I assume there's no discussion.
No discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for joining us, and September 17th, I believe, is our next meeting. I know that agenda is very full.
It's
So,
filling up, yep.
Yep, so it will be